And welcome into the Friday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning. We are presented by Green Ventures Landscaping for homes and businesses that want to stand out, not blend in. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Visit Busy Bee HVAC at the Music City Home Expo event this Friday through Sunday at the Fairgrounds Expo Center. Joe Rexrode, good morning. The YouTube chat is already flowing on the program this morning. How are we doing? What's going on?
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'll have to check it out. I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to this is probably one of the easiest shows of the year, right? Just reacting to draft picks. I will say that, I had to write nothing extensive, but sort of like a quick kind of like analysis of the Titans picks for the Athletic, and I almost went into my bed with my phone to watch the last few picks so I could kind of get a head start on going to bed,
Sure.
And it's just like, boom, got my teeth brushed, in bed. Okay, draft's over. Turn off the phone, go to sleep. And then ding, 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 the Titans trade back into the first round.
Mm-hmm.
We did not think we'd have two picks today to react to, but we do.
Did not. Yeah, we did.
Very exciting.
Ian, how we doing? What's going on?
Good morning. Made it up. Yeah, stayed till 10 o'clock.
Hey,
Were you about to go to bed?
I was in
traded?
bed. I was in bed.
Oh, you were in bed.
Yeah,
Nice.
I already turned off the stream.
Well done.
So I didn't hear Chase and Big Joe and D-Mace's reaction. Been listening to that most of the night, but I was like, all right, I think it's time to wind down. And then checked the phone and saw that they moved back up. But yeah, doing good overall. It's, always fun draft, I'd say.
Yeah, it's a fun draft.
There's always something that shakes out you might not think, and sure enough, we had a couple here and there.
We did.
So the Tennessee Titans at number 4 select Carnell Tate, wide receiver from Ohio State, with Arvell Reese still on the board, Sonny Styles still on the board, and Tate is the way that they go. So the first 3 picks, Mendoza, as expected, to the Raiders, Bailey, as kind of expected, to the New York Jets, and then Jeremiah Love actually goes number 3 to the Arizona Cardinals. So I was sitting there yesterday, Joe, and I was like, okay, well, Arvell Reese is there, man. Just take him. Get there and get the edge rusher, and let's go. And then when Goodell walked up to the stage and said Carnell Tate, I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, really?
Here we go.
Is
Carnell
that
Tate.
so?
Right.
Is that right?
Because I was honestly, and I was watching, I think McAfee's feed on YouTube, and they had Bill Cowher on there, had Schrager on there, and they were talking about, like, Robert Saleh loves having that linebacker, right? And then, obviously the Fred Warner comparison came up. So it's like, either go get the edge rusher and Arvell Reese or go get the linebacker. And then Goodell walks out there and says Carnell Tate. And I got to admit, I was pretty surprised. What'd you think?
No, I was too. Like one of the first, I was like, did anyone predict this out there? I did notice, there was a few of the people on the Titans media orbit who at least threw it out there as something they thought. I think Drew Beatty, who does the stuff for Kaharski, he retweeted something where he kind of said that would be a good pick.
Chris
Johnson was the one guy of Jimmy Wyatt's media poll, but apparently that was also with the caveat of trading down.
Okay.
So no one picked that they would just take at 4 Carnell Tate. So I was surprised for sure. And, my initial reaction was like, man, I just don't know. I mean, it's time, as even the hours have gone on since then. I mean, it's like, hey, first of all, selfishly, I'm not going to complain about like a offensive skill player for us to watch. I mean, and he could be great. He hasn't really profiled as a number 1 receiver. There are questions. I think, Kaharski asked him about his yards after catch. I assume that was Kaharski because that's all he talks about whenever we bring up Carnell Tate.
Well, what about your yards after the catch? What about that?
Hey, Carnell, you ever thought about making some yards after the catch? Is that something that's ever entered your thought process?
Why do you fall down right after you catch the ball?
A lot of yak in there, and there's soft defense. And
Nice. So, and then he said it's like he's working on it or something. I think he's a good player. I mean, he was a projected top 10 player. So it's funny because then you think about reach at receiver in the top 5. Kaharski, by the way, with a very good factoid last night that this is the highest the Titans or Oilers in the NFL draft have ever taken a receiver. But of course, I thought immediately of Corey Davis 9 years ago, 2017, and it was a need reach at receiver at number 5 for Corey Davis. Now, that was more of a reach.
Yes.
But like I went back last night, like Todd McShay, for example, he and a lot of people have this, projected Davis to go to the Titans at 18. So, you know, and there are other people at Davis like in the 20s. Like, he was supposed to be more of a second half of the first round guy, goes at 5. This is not that. This is a top 10 guy. All draft, you know, it's also, you know, comparing drafts, one draft to another. You have to, drafts are different. Basically, I'm warming up to it as time has gone on. But we're going to sit here and we'll see. And if Arvell Reese is Micah Parsons Jr., then there will be much complaining to be had here in Nashville, Tennessee.
Well, I feel the same way about Carnell Tate as I felt the whole time, which is I think he's got a chance to be a good player in the NFL. But when you draft him at number 4, he better darn well be a number 1 wide receiver, right? Like, he better be one of these guys that you're going down the list. And I'm not saying he's got to be Jamar Chase, but he better not be too far down from that, right? Like, you know, here in 2-3 years' time, you better be talking about one of the, I don't know, top 10, 15-ish wide receivers in the NFL. And if you're not, that's a problem, taking him at number 4. I mean, that's basically where I come down on it is if you're taking him at number 4, you better believe that he is special. And we'll see whether or not he is. Like we've talked about with him the whole time. I like a lot of what he did at Ohio State. It's just with the setup at Ohio State with Jeremiah Smith on the other side, you just wonder about what exactly that's going to look like at the NFL level. And is the speed, which we've talked about with him, how much of a concern is that? Can he force himself open in the NFL? And, you know, not everybody that gets open in the NFL, some burner out there. So there's more than one way to do it. But that's my general takeaway is I've always liked Carnell Tate. Do you love Carnell Tate? Because to me, that's what you need to have if you're the Titans when you take him at number 4.
Yeah. And yeah, you could also, you can compare him to the other possibilities, which is basically a bunch of Ohio State dudes compared against each other. We talked about Reese. Look, I mean, there are people who thought Arvell Reese was the number 1, including Dane Brugler, the number 1 prospect in this draft. There is the question of, okay, we're talking a lot about potential upside and not about production on the field. Okay. And then Styles, I mean, the position, like if it was Styles and Tate, I'm really not complaining about this, but Reese was there. And that really to me is the thing. And you're right. If you take him there, he needs to be great. And I hear what people, you're right about the YouTube chat. My goodness, already absolutely like Jared Morris. I agree. Like, it's like people are like, draft love, Cam needs a weapon. And they're like, Carnell Tate, idiots. I hear you. Like, you could make a case with Tate and Love. As we talked about the pick, the positional value, the economic impact of giving a running back that much guaranteed money, and compare that to Tate. Well, this is a position that you do draft that high, and that you are going to be way under market with his rookie deal for the top receivers. But then we get into, is he going to be one of the top receivers? Someone's asking, last time a number 2 pick on his college team, went in the top 5. Now, we've talked about Justin Jefferson in a redraft would absolutely go in the top 5.
Yeah.
So, so it can happen. But even with that, anybody who watched Justin Jefferson play in college, Carnell Tate was not compared to Justin Jefferson in college. There's a pretty vast difference. I think there was somebody else we talked about yesterday who was a number 2 who was really good.
Yeah, I was trying to remember who that was this morning as well, and I'm blanking on it.
I'll figure it out.
Now, the Titans also moved back into the first round. They picked up Keldrick Falk at the end of it at 31. So they gave Buffalo at that point, which New England traded up to 28, which heck of a day for New England yesterday. It was quite something. They traded up to 28. Titans got back in the first round at 31, and they took Keldrick Falk from Auburn, who is the edge rusher. And that means the Bills now have pick 35. The Bills also picked up the Titans' third rounder at 66. So the Titans are not picking again until, at the moment, the 69th pick, which is the 5th pick into the third round. So it'll be a while before the Titans are back on the clock. What do you make of Keldrick Falk at the back part of the first round for the Tennessee Titans?
So I mentioned that Dane Brugler, and friend of the show, he does a great job. There's a lot. He's one of a lot of people who I think do the work and have opinions I value. Like you said, he had Reese as the number 1 prospect. He had Tate as the number 10 prospect. So, it's a little bit reachy. He had Falk as the number 15 prospect. But it's interesting too when you because of course I go into the Beast and read up on, and it's like I think he said basically that he led the nation in almost plays. You said before the show, so he had 2 sacks last year.
2 sacks last.
That's not super exciting. Now he also, like, even going into last year for Auburn, you knew he was a dude and that he was probably going to be a first round pick or close to it coming out this year. He had 7 sacks the year before that. So I don't know what all went into only having 2 sacks. I guess it sounds like he just missed on a whole bunch of them.
He said he had 30 pressures, 2 sacks in the
that's kind of incredible
yesterday.
Yeah. Tackle someone. But he is big.
He's a big guy.
And you watch some of the film and it's like, man, I mean, you could see it for sure. Just a massive human. You talk about there's no arm length issue with him.
No.
But also like 278 pounds or so, 270 something pounds. I mean,
I think
big dude.
PK puts out something interesting last night. He said, Keldrick Falk is listed as 6'5" and 7'8", so it's basically 6'6" and 276 pounds. That's a big guy. And he said, he's not necessarily the wide 9 that they're missing. He's more beef. And they've got Femi Oladejo, Jermaine Johnson, Keldrick Falk as your end group right now. That's big. Those are big guys.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. You can do a lot. I mean, someone last night's trying to tell me on Twitter that Reese isn't a scheme fit. I'm like, dude, again, if you have a scheme if that guy is what they think he is,
and he can't fit
then your scheme needs to never be used again. I mean, come on. One of the, a lot of times, whatever, people do it differently with the 4-3. You got a strong side end and different things people do. But usually it's like one of them is bigger and one of them is a little bit more like a 3-4 outside linebacker, just more of a rush guy. And yeah, it does seem like this group is just trends big. It is big. I mean, across the board, and you get the interior guys. So, but hey, if the guy can play, then that's great. I also look at it and it's like, so Falk is a guy who, man, you could see it all. You wish you had a little more production last year, and now he's coming into a room that includes Femi Oladejo. Yep. Different situation, but also think he could be good, has the traits to be good, but will he be good?
615-737-1025, our phone number. The Titans draft Carnell Tate and Keldrick Falk in the first round last night. It picks 4 and 31, respectively. We'll take your full reaction, which is already rolling in. Keep them coming. 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Titans draft Carnell Tate at number 4. Keldrick Falk, the edge rusher out of Auburn, at number 31 last night. Taking your full reaction, 615-737-1025. Joe, I would describe the reaction that we've gotten to this point on Carnell Tate as largely negative.
Yeah, it's a little angrier than I thought. I actually thought it would. I'm a little bit surprised. And, look, we only have thousands of texts every 5 minutes, basically. But no, seriously, it's not quite that many. But we get a pretty good gauge of things. And I actually thought going into today that there'd be a lot of, because I thought like on social media it was a little bit more celebratory of just getting a weapon for Cam Ward, helping out Cam Ward. But it's like, and look, and then I do feel like, sometimes there's just people who want to believe and just want to positively spin everything the Titans do. And I get that, but it's annoying. But it's like, first of all, the Corey Davis comparison, if you're screaming at people for making that comparison, well, it doesn't necessarily mean, I'm certainly not saying they're the same player, but what I'm saying is that was a reach for need in the top 5. And so you, of course, think of that. And when you look at this, do I think that Carnell Tate is a better prospect, better player, and was projected as a better player in that particular draft than Davis? Yes. But you think of that, right? The number 2 on your own offense. Some people want to dunk on that, right? Well, okay, you're right. There are, and I saw Mike Herndon tweet, Jalen Waddle would be an example. There's a lot of Ohio State guys over the years that because there were 3 first-round picks on the same team, that happens. But the fact is, it's not something that you just blow off either, because the reality is Carnell Tate's film is that of a person who was never the focal point of the opposing defense because the other guy was. So it's not irrelevant.
Yeah.
Okay? So here's a question from Ed. If you're a defense playing the Titans with Tate, Ridley, and Robinson, is Tate good enough on day one to demand your number 1 cornerback plays on? Obviously, what are they playing? Are they traveling people? I don't think Tate's a guy that's going to be like, we got to travel with him. We got to change up whatever,
not early.
You're doing. Yeah. You want it to be the kid. Day one. Hey, look, man, you know what this place needs? This place needs, because I will say that there was, even though it was anger about A.J. Brown, there was more excitement about Treylon Burks and what he could be, I think, from the jump from Titans fans, probably from us even too, right? You know what the Titans need? They need Tate to come in and be like, oh my God, that guy's good, as opposed to Burks showing up and whatever the heck happened to his, and all that stuff. They need someone to to deliver more, over deliver immediately. So I don't know. You watch film of Tate and see some ridiculous route running and feet. And the hands, I think, there's no question his hands are elite. They're huge and they're elite. He doesn't drop the ball. There's good things about him, but is he going to be that kind of guy? I don't know. But right now, I would have to say I'd probably be on the doubting side a little bit.
Well, he's definitely, I think one thing, regardless of if you don't like the pick, if you like the pick, if today you're talking yourself into pick, which all of which is fine, by the way, I don't have a problem with any of that. But I think one thing we could all agree on is they didn't just draft Jamar Chase, right? Where it's okay, the Bengals drafted him and it's yeah, we know that guy's going to be a great player in the NFL. I like Carnell Tate. Is he going to be a number 1 bona fide wide receiver in the league? I don't know. I think that's an interesting question. I hope so, but I don't love the idea of hoping so for the number 4 overall pick, right? I think that's where you get in trouble. And the other part I think that we were seeing a lot from the reaction, which I understand, is you had one of those 2 edge rushers that we've talked a lot about on the board for you sitting there.
Yeah.
You passed him, and then the next team immediately took him with John Harbaugh.
They're really? Oh, my God, thank you.
So, obviously, that's something we're going to monitor pretty closely, right? How good is Arvell Reese, and how do you compare that? Let's say, Tate turns into a solid, maybe high level number 2 wide receiver, right? Where he's over 1,000 yards. He's good, but he's not elite, right? But Arvell Reese in 3 years' time is on the handful of great pass rushers in the league. Well, you're probably going to look back at this and say, well, crap, we could have had Arvell Reese at that point. So I think that's factoring into a lot of the reaction that we're seeing as well.
100%. Now, someone says, I think part of the anger is every single Titans media member talked about Love for 6 months, barely mentioned Tate as a possibility. Yeah, look, because Tate, every time we brought up Tate, it was the same thing. Yeah, it's a little rich at 4. Like him, if you move to 8 or 9, sure. At 4, yeah, not quite. And then, of course, now with Love was gone. So,
yeah,
would have been interesting to see. I don't know. I will say it. You tell me. I'm just guessing, but and by the way, Schrager didn't just say that they were not going to take Love. He mentioned Tate.
He did.
He did mention Tate at the end of that thing. He said, and Tate.
Yeah.
And we said, like, oh wow, you're throwing Tate in there, huh? If they had Love and Tate both there, I think they take Tate.
I mean, I don't know, but maybe, yeah. Like what I would love to know, and we will never find out. What I would love to know, where did like the Giants or the Saints or all these teams that are in the same general vicinity, the Cardinals, all these teams that are in the same general vicinity, where did they have Carnell Tate on their board? Right? Like I would love to know what that looks like, and we'll never find out.
No,
but I'd love to know deep down like where that all stood compared to the Titans.
Yeah, and did the Titans were they just highest on him? Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you had good options. Again, Reese was a really good option. I like different teams. I'm sure Reese was all over different boards too. Like Reese, I'm guessing he was probably real high on some, and maybe some teams that had no chance of getting him. But I'm sure there was it just seemed like the consensus, and again, this is where you got to remember, this is mock draft land. This is media. This is the expectations built on mock drafts. Yes, on reporting too. And yes, some reporting is real, by the way. I mean, the Cardinal stuff was real. The Cardinal stuff clearly was not BS. They did it. That happens too. So you have to be able to pick through what's real and what isn't. But like, And my very unscientific method is I watch Ohio State. Now he's pretty good. I watch Jeremiah Smith. It's like, oh my God, that's probably a big thing too. Is like just by comparison on his own team. It's like that's a guy who goes number 4 or maybe even higher, but at least he'll go top 3 next year, right? 3, 4. Yeah. That is the receiver you take, and it's like that changes our team. And this guy is not that.
At least we don't think. 615-737-1025, our phone number.
That's true.
615-737-1025. We will get to some of your reaction on the Carnell Tate pick and Keldrick Falk as well coming up next. Keep them coming, 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game, taking your reaction to the Titans drafting Carnell Tate at number 4, Keldrick Falk at number 31 at the back part of the first round. Let's head to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Jared in Spring Hill to the program. Jared, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, fellas. Yeah, so I was going to get to a couple of these picks and get my take on it, but I feel like I'm mostly negative most of the time. So I'm skimming positive today. And if it was between just with Tate, I feel like he does have a lot of those elite intangibles. He can go up and get the ball. He has big hands and he doesn't drop the ball. And I think whenever you draft somebody at 4, if you have those intangibles, those are elite intangibles that can translate to the NFL. And so I was definitely caught off guard because I get locked in on a guy. Bowers, different types of ones in the past. And then I set myself up for getting upset. So I just kind of as I was just going through this, I would much rather have Tate because there's no way that you could go into this season and draft Reese and he's another project along with another project Edge and Femi. And both of them, you could be like, well, they could drop back and play inside linebacker if Edge isn't good. To me, that isn't good enough. They don't have the elite intangibles outside of just being athletic, and I get it. And also too, Styles. I'm so glad we didn't take a linebacker there. So somebody like me, I like the flash. I think that he can bring a lot of those elite playmaking, and he get the deep ball, get the mid range type of passes, and hopefully to start putting the pressure on Cam Moore a little bit. Let's hold his feet to the fire, and maybe he'll get some accountability and criticism this year if he can't get the ball. But he should be Tate. He should be the number one wide receiver on the Tennessee Titans whenever he gets there, in my opinion. He should be that because I think he's better than Robinson. I think he's definitely better than the guys we got last year, and I think he's better than Ridley, who's coming off a broken leg. And Falk, yeah, I think that's great. He's a defensive lineman. Not a lot of production, profile guy, sure, but I thought I was going to be a lot more upset than what I am. So I'm skewing positive. Tighten up Friday, baby. Here we go.
There we go. Thank you, Jared. Appreciate it. I look, when you draft a wide receiver number 4, I agree. He needs to be your number 1 receiver coming in this year. And, I guess I'm more worried about what he is 2 years from now, right? He definitely needs to be the number 1 receiver by then. But I think right now, somebody on the text line, a couple of people have said, well, what do you do now with Ridley? Do you trade him? No. I think this is part of, you looked at the room heading into it with Tate in there now. I mean, your starting trio, if you're going 3 wide of Tate, Ridley, and Wan'Dale Robinson, I feel pretty good about it. And frankly, I think it slots Io Manor and DK where they need to be in terms of wide receiver rotation. Now we'll see if it works out on the Tate front where he's, that level of player to be a number 1 guy, but no, I'm not moving anybody right now in the wide receiver room.
Yeah, no.
You're probably moving on from Ridley at the end of the year anyway,
right.
Would be my guess.
Yes.
And you're going to have to find somebody else to kind of fill that role. But right now, having depth at wide receiver is a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm holding on to that if I'm the Titans.
No doubt. And Ridley, could easily get hurt again. So, but no, you want that depth, and maybe it's a good thing. I mean, Ridley has been a productive player in this league. So maybe it's not a bad thing for Tate to be in the same room with him. Robinson is going to be a guy who gets the ball out. That's not going to change. But again, more of the short stuff for him. I'll say Drew Beatty, late March tweets, Paul Karski, he does film stuff. Beatty. Did I say Beatty? Sorry. Not like beady eyes. Drew Beatty, I apologize, says he had this tweet from March. I don't think I'll ever quite understand how quickly Carnell Tate was swept out from the candidate pool for the Titans at 4. Advanced, nuanced separator who consistently wins on the boundary, elite contested catch receiver, and field stretcher.
I mean, clearly the Titans feel the same way, right?
Yeah. I guess.
Otherwise they're not taking him at 4.
Well, I think so. Yeah.
It's the 40 time, right?
It's the 40 time that everybody's caught up on.
Yeah. The 40 time.
That turned off a lot of people.
Yes.
And PK is right that like the yak, as much as we like to make fun of PK, the yak is not.
Have you ever gained a single yard after you caught the ball, Carnell? Can you do that in the NFL?
Yeah. So I mean, it's it's one of those things where it's like, where the Titans like, oh God, we are taking him. Period. This is how high we have him on a board. Yeah, or is it like, yeah, they just are like they were just down on Reese? It's or some combination. I mean, but it's sometimes like you hope that it's like, no, that like we absolutely believe he is that guy, and we were running up to the thing with our card, as opposed to, oh, this is how the board fell.
It's hard for me to believe that they don't, like, at number 4. I don't think you're looking at it and saying, well, I guess we just got to take him here, right? Like, it's, to me, if they didn't think that he could be their number 1 wide receiver, then they would have gone like Sonny Styles or whatever. Like, let's say they didn't like Reese. And it's like, yeah, we're not convinced that Reese is going to be the pass rusher that everybody thinks he is. Well, just go Sonny Styles at that point if you don't think that Carnell Tate is going to be a number 1 wide receiver, right?
Well,
like, it wouldn't be popular, but I got serious doubts that they evaluated Sonny Styles and were like, yeah, we don't think this guy's very good as a middle linebacker.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, he'll be their number 1 receiver. As Jared was talking, I was like, well, listen, as a Detroit Lions fan in 1986, we had Pete Mandley as our number 1 receiver. They like every team has a number 1 receiver. Will he be a number 1 receiver?
That's the question.
See that guy. Yeah. People sitting there talking about, hey, the Titans can get Smith next year, then those roles will be perfect.
Let me tell you this.
Yeah.
If we're talking about them in position to get Jeremiah Smith next year, we're going to be talking about probably a different position at that point, which would be quarterback.
Yeah, or different people picking. Who knows, man? I mean, yeah, you're going to have to be incredibly bad to have a chance to get Jeremiah Smith next year.
Let's head back to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Dustin in Hopkinsville to the program. Dustin, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me no more. Boys, it played out how I thought it was going to. It was just fitting the way that running back dropped the ball to let us win that game in Arizona. And we won, 1 or 2 too many games. And here we are. We don't have any love. But I'm still excited because we didn't draft the dang guard again. All right. And in my opinion, Carnell Tate was he worthy of the number 4 pick? Probably not, as Mike Vrabel would say. However, all this guy's going to do is make the wide receiver room better. Everybody talks about, well, we got plenty of depth at wide receiver. Yeah, but Bryce Oliver isn't the depth that I want. He does good, don't get me wrong, but hey, if there's a guy better that takes Restrepo off this lineup, well, good. That's what we need. I love Restrepo. I want him to elevate. I want him on this team. But, like, if somebody is much better and they keep moving down the spots and it knocks him out, our receiving room is better for that. And I think Carnell Tate, his route running, he's only going to make DK and Iron Man take the pressure off. The pressure is on Mr. Tate. The pressure isn't so much on really. It's still there. But this guy needs to be number 1, and he's going to make this wide receiver room and Cam Ward much better. They're focused on seeing what Cam Ward's got, and then they went out and got the edge. They didn't get the one that everybody thought they were going to get, so they traded up, and number 31, they got him an edge. So I'm more excited than I've been in a while. Last year we got the quarterback, Cam Ward. I don't think he was worthy of the number 1 pick, maybe a number 6, but he's our quarterback. He's shown promise. Let's see what a weapon does for him now. And now let's get him some protection in the rest of this draft.
There we go. Thank you, Dustin. Appreciate it. Look, I mean, on the receiving room front, I'm not really worried about like Io Manor and Jim DK. Like, to me, Io Manor and DK are like 3 and 4 wide receivers, right? That's what they are. Number 3, number 4 wide receivers. In this offense right now, they're probably 4 and 5, which is fine. Like, I think that's where they need to be. I mean, you're talking about, as we've discussed the whole time, and, PK brought this up the other day, and I think it's a really good point. DK and Io Manor showed really good stuff at times for 4th round picks last year, But DK and Io Manor don't need to be like your number 2 and 3 wide receivers in the NFL. They just don't.
Yeah, like
So-
like DK has, he has upside. We'll see.
Yeah, and you could still use him, and obviously they're going to use him on special teams. But we'll see the receiver that he can grow into. But in the meantime, now that you've got Tate, Ridley, and Robinson, like I like that trio, and we'll see. I mean, the question is, regardless of all those other guys in the room, it's going to come down to how good is Tate. Like I feel good about Tate's floor, right? Like Tate's going to be a good player.
Agree.
Is he going to be a great player? That's the question.
Yeah, it is a high floor pick. It's just that, I mean, obviously you want high floor, high ceiling. The at that pick. I mean, I said when I thought maybe that Reese would be the pick for the Jets and that Bailey would be available for the Titans. Like to me that's a really high floor pick. Like he's going to sack the quarterback. Carnell Tate is going to produce, and I think that he will be. I mean, it'll be very disappointing and alarming if he's not the Titans' best receiver.
Agreed.
And like right away, and pretty obviously so. That's still like there's still a lot of room between that and like how he compares to the rest of the NFL. You know, and can he dictate defense? I mean, that is, as I'm going through the strengths and weaknesses, one of the big things it just is like he just got one-on-one coverage like consistently because of his teammate. It's not his fault. That's his teammate, but it makes you have to keep that in the proper context compared to guys who most guys drafted here. They are the focal point of the opposing defensive coordinator in college football. He wasn't.
615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll take more of your reaction to Carnell Tate at number 4 overall for the Tennessee Titans. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Our football offseason coverage brought to you by Tennessee Brew Works. Locally brewed, community-driven. Tennessee Brew Works, the official craft beer of football offseason coverage here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Taking your reaction to Carnell Tate going at number 4 and Keldrick Falk at number 31 with the Titans trading back up into the first round there. One thing I do like about this, and we've talked a lot about the Tate pick itself, and we will get a little bit more into the Falk pick as the show goes on. I have said it all off season, and not that this means you have to make some declarative decision on your quarterback at the end of next year after year 2, because you don't have to do that. But I do like the idea of, as much as you possibly can, Joe, like helping your quarterback out and removing any excuses that you can, right? We've talked about that. Now that you've got Tate in there, if he's what you think he is, which clearly the Titans believe that he is, well, that goes a long way towards helping your quarterback, right? And you've got weapons now. If Tate is a legitimate number 1 wide receiver, well, that's a big thing for a young quarterback there. Now, we'll still see, the rest of this weekend here, what do they do to address offensive guard? What do they do to address center? Do they do both in the draft coming up here? Do they just get to one? I'd be surprised if they don't get to either in the draft here. But, how effectively do they address all that? That still remains to be seen. At this point, Joe, I'd be surprised if they went running back just from the standpoint of, or at least a running back that's going to unseat Tony Pollard next year. I felt like that was going to be Jeremiah Love, or that was going to be nobody in terms of unseating Pollard for next season. So I feel like you probably know what your running back looks like next year with Pollard being the primary guy. And, maybe they draft somebody here that replaces Spears. I have no idea. But I think Pollard's probably going to be your guy to start next year, and we'll see what that looks like after a good second half of the season from him a year ago. But I like the idea of Tate coming in. If he's close to what you think he is, drafting him number 4, well, that goes a long way towards helping your quarterback out there, and that should make much better play from your quarterback heading into next year if he's close to what you think he is.
Yeah. No, this is definitely helping your quarterback. You've done it. And look, we're talking about, Tate, this is a reach, all that stuff. Consensus top receiver in this draft. So you helped your quarterback at receiver as well as you could have helped your quarterback at receiver in this draft per the experts.
Yeah.
Until Mekhi Lemon is rookie of the year. But, that is a good thing for sure. It's just that what you have to do in the draft is get the best possible football players year after year, and all of a sudden you look up and you got a great football team. And, if Carnell Tate's a good player over his tenure, and frankly, Cam Ward was also a guy who Cam Ward at 1. A lot of people didn't quite think he was that.
Yeah.
Carnell Tate at 4. A lot of people don't think he's that. So you by the experts, by the conventional wisdom at the time, you've overdrafted both of these guys who one will be thrown to the other.
If it works out, nobody's going to care.
Yeah. Exactly. It's on them to throw up double middles at that whole idea.
Yep. Let's head back to our phone line. Welcome in Mark in Nashville to the program. Mark, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Hey, good morning, Robby. What's up, Uncle Joe? How you doing, man?
What's up, Mark? Good, buddy. How you doing?
Hey, Joe, I got a great breakfast going on right now, man. Fried livers, Robby, Ian, and hot sauce, and I'm chasing it down with bug juice. Yeah.
Now we're talking.
Good breakfast, man.
Did you just say bug juice?
Yeah, now we're talking, Joe.
What's bug juice?
Joe. It's like a little flavored drink, like orange, lime. Something kids drink, Joe. Yeah. I was going to bring a case of it with me if Robby had invited me and you over to watch the Olympic hockey when they were doing the hockey thing back a couple of months ago. Yeah, we could have had Doritos and bug juice, man. It would have been good, man, watching the hockey.
Fried livers, man. Okay. I'm having bad flashbacks of my childhood of eating liver.
But yeah, man, y'all were talking about Tate. I think they really took Tate. I really think they were going to take Love, don't you think, Robby? I think, and Joe, when Love got taken off the board, I really think they were going to take Love. They went to Tate, so they knew they had to find a playmaker for Cam. I really feel bad for Love, though, Robby and Joe. I mean, you had Algier and Connor there. Signed Algier to a 2-year deal. You signed Connor to an extension. That's a bad organization, the Bidwells down there in Arizona. I really feel bad for Love. Maybe we could see Love get traded today, Joe. I'm really hoping that they'll trade him, man, and, try to figure something else out. But I believe Tate could be a number one. But we're going to see when defenses start rolling over here on his side what kind of adjustments he's made. He wasn't a number one at Ohio State, and you can forget about the 40 time. Jerry Rice didn't have a big time 40 time, and look what he turned out to be. So I think Tate will be good. They had to get Cam a playmaker, and they drafted a defensive end in the later of the first round. They're doing pretty good. But today, Joe, Robby, I'm going to ask you, what do you think they go after? Guards, some extra linemen, maybe some secondary, maybe another wide receiver or something. I mean, I know they got some picks left. I mean, what do y'all think, Joe, Robby, what they're going to do? And I'm going to let y'all go. I got to get up here to Illinois, man. Y'all have a good weekend.
Appreciate it. Well, I mean,
Thanks, Mark.
It's hard to know who's going to be on the board, at the 69th overall pick. I mean, my guess is this is where you start to look interior offensive line and see what's out there and what's available, because that's, I mean, it's a glaring hole on your roster right now.
Yeah, that'd be my guess. And, of course, some people are texting about, like, what they'll do today. They're not going to do anything today unless they trade back into the second round, because they obviously gave up that second-round pick to go up and get Falk. So, quiet day for the Titans unless they see something, and which would be probably, late in this round. It's possible that they could try to get back into the end of the second and get somebody.
Well, I mean, they got third round today.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm dumb.
Both 2 and 3
Both today.
Yeah.
I've been telling people on text line, what are you talking about? Not doing anything today. In my mind, this is only the second round. Hi, Joe.
But one pick.
I need some livers.
I mean, one pick in 2 rounds. That is a lot of waiting. That is a lot of hanging out and waiting.
A lot of waiting.
I mean, clearly.
I actually thought I wouldn't have to do anything today.
Well, clearly they jump back in. I mean, that's where the Falk pick is interesting, where, you think enough of him to move back into, that top part of that first round there. So, yeah, they were willing to give up what they gave up in order to do it. And now if you're Buffalo's got 35. Buffalo takes your pick at 66. So you're waiting a while, but, we some guys we threw out there at 35, like Zion Young, right? Like, could he have been an option for the Titans at 35? Interested to see where he goes. We'll get to some people that are still on the board a little bit later in the show. But, clearly they looked at Falk and said, we gotta jump on this guy right now. And that's what they did. So
that's their guy.
If he ends up being, it's their guy. So if he ends up being what they think he is, I have no problem with the Titans moving back into the first round.
I'll say, like, the Tate thing, it is possible that, like, they were hoping for somebody else. They're just down on Reese, and it's a little bit of a reach. Yes, it is a reach, guys. Even if someone says someone is a top 10 pick, if you take him at 4, that's still, like, he was, again, we have Brugler as the 10th prospect. That's a reach. But when you go up and get the guy, that leaves no doubt. That leaves no doubt about how they evaluated Falk.
Yeah. Well, and the bottom line is, we'll see how it all plays out. But I think if you would have told most Titans fans this before the draft, dating back to last week, going back to 3 months ago when we really started hammering home all this stuff. Hey, the first 2 picks from the Titans are going to be a wide receiver and an edge rusher. They'd be like, yep, cool. Sounds good. Let's do that.
Need-wise, it makes sense.
615-737-1025. A lot more reaction to get to from the first round of the NFL draft. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning. We are presented by Green Ventures Landscaping. Property managers, if you manage it, they maintain it. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Visit Busy Bee HVAC at the Music City Home Expo event this Friday through Sunday, coming up at the Fairgrounds Expo Center. Titans draft Carnell Tate at number 4. They move back into the first round and draft Keldrick Falk at number 31 overall last night. Taking your reaction to what the Titans did in the first round of the NFL draft. We will get to some other highlights from the first round of the NFL draft coming up later this hour as well.
Who's more annoying? People who are like just so bending over backwards to like say this is not a reach, this is a great pick, or the people who like think this is the worst pick of all time?
Both annoying in different ways. Like, I mean, look, you can think whatever you want to think. I do think there have been too many around here, especially given the bad football we've seen, that just bend over backwards to say that good stuff from the Titans all the time.
Yeah.
So I'd probably vote that. I
mean, Texter's like, we're going back and forth. He's like, this guy's like, this man or woman is like Daniel Jeremiah had him at 6, Joe. The Giants would have taken him at 5, and so would the Saints, Browns, and Commanders. If you can't trade back, you don't know that at all. If you can't trade back even one pick to get your guy, how is it a reach? He was not projected as a top 4 prospect. He went number 4 in the draft. That is a reach. Is it a huge reach? No.
And by the way,
it is a reach.
And it doesn't mean that he won't turn out to be a great player.
He may end up being the best player in this entire class, and we'll be like, wow, what a value pick the Titans got. And he may end up being a guy we said, he should have gone about 45.
Yeah.
Who knows? None of us know. Don't act like you know. I don't know. Well, don't act like you know.
Well, let me tell you what you certainly don't know, and that is like what the teams behind the Titans were going to pick if Carnell Tate was still on the board.
Like, yeah, he was definitely going to the Giants. It's like, really?
Yeah, that's.
You think definitely going to the Giants?
Utterly absurd.
I don't think I saw a single person having the Giants take a receiver.
No.
Okay.
They were not going to take a receiver.
Again, a lot of this is going to.
I don't think.
I mean, a lot of this pretty simply is going to come down to how good is Carnell Tate and how good is Arvell Reese, right? Like that's if you're a Titans fan, that's probably the direct comparison that I will be watching over the next 3-4 years. And there's something like that in every draft, right? Like, you go look at who was drafted either, right after J.C. Latham, right? The Titans, you can go compare that with J.C. Latham's career for the next 10 years if you want to, if it works out that way. So you can do that with every draft, but like if I'm the Titans, if I'm the Titans fan, that's what I'm looking at is, all right, you had the opportunity to take Arvell Reese, you didn't do it. Tate better be good. And, maybe Arvell Reese is a total bust. I have no idea. Like we'll see what happens, but that's the direct comparison I'll be looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. And even though they're not the same position, that's the obvious pick that I thought they were going to make and they didn't. Texter asks, is the only knock on Tate his slow 40 time, other than him being from Ohio State? I know nothing about his game. I'll give you a quick I can give you a quick rundown. Essentially, I'll give you the Brugler overall thing. Tate is a long, technically proficient receiver who can win at all 3 levels using high-level tracking / adjustment skills and catching radius. He projects as an immediate NFL starting Z with Pro Bowl upside. I mean, that doesn't sound bad. Again, we've talked about terrific, huge hands, catches everything.
Yep.
He had 9 catches of 40-plus yards. His touchdowns last year averaged 32.5 yards per touchdown. Weaknesses, average speed and suddenness for the position by NFL standards. Drew a lot of one-on-one coverage because of Jeremiah Smith's gravitational pull. Marginal run after the catch threat. If not given a runway, he won't force many missed tackles. So someone threw up the A.J. Brown thing. The 40 times are similar. A.J. Brown is very
missed tackles.
Yeah, the physicality there is his, and that's not Carnell Tate. I mean, he's a very good player. Like no one is disputing that. He's a very good player, but I don't like hearing average speed and suddenness. At 4, with his physicality, I'd like to see a little bit faster 40 time.
Yeah, for sure. Let's head back to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Chad in Hendersonville to the program. Chad, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Hey, morning, guys. This one's a tough one for me. Now, I don't judge drafts, 15 minutes after the players. I'm smart enough to know you don't start judging. You want to start talking about true judgment of drafts. Let's go back and talk about the 2022 draft, 2023 draft. That's when you start judging drafts if you have any kind of football IQ, and nobody wants to do that, right? Because that's boring to go back and look back 3 years. But from a philosophy standpoint, I think it's just a tough pick because wide receivers, there's so many. I mean, if you look at a comp as far as just schematically, it's Marvin Harrison Jr., right? Because he was picked in this spot or right about here 2 years ago. And then you look at all the wide receivers, the guy in Chicago, Denzi, Roma Denzi?
Yeah.
And there's just, you go through all the history of the NFL draft in the last 10, 15 modern day era. The wide receivers are planted all over there, second, third, fourth round. There's so many of them. I mean, it's just such a deep position, and it's just tough. Like for this to be like a home run pick, do you know how good he has to be? I mean, just think about it. And he has to be so much better than not only the wide receiver class, he has to be an absolute he has to be like one of the greatest wide receivers, not only in franchise history, but just in the league in this era. And it's just, to me, it's a tough one because you can get a wide receiver. I can say with 100% certainty, and then I'll let you all go. There's going to be other wide receivers in this class that are going to be elite, that are going to go much, much later. So you would hope you could identify that and top 4 pick. I want a game changer, and I just think history is going to show this one's going to be a tough one, guys.
Thank you, Chad. Appreciate it. Well, there's no doubt, as we talked about to begin the show, when you draft a wide receiver at number 4, I mean, pretty quickly into his career, he needs to be not very far down the list of the top wide receivers in the game. Like that's what it means when you draft a wide receiver at number 4. And I'm interested to see what that's going to look like with Carnell Tate.
Yeah. And, another big thing about Tate and how he works out is he's going to be the quarterback.
Yeah.
There a lot of these outcomes, we just look at the player and say, wow, that guy was way better than we thought, or that guy was way worse than we thought. But the reality is that guy was better than we thought. And a lot of it is because where he went was perfect for him, and he had the right support and the scheme and the players around him, and vice versa if it doesn't work out. I mean, Cam Ward will have a lot to say about how good Colonel Tate is.
Let's head back to the phone line. Welcome in Tim to the program. Tim, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Morning, guys. It seems we're seeing a pattern with Bergonzi is we're taking reaches. I mean, Cam was a reach, I thought, last year at number 1. Tate is a reach, and I don't even think anybody had him listed in the top 12 in picks, did they?
Top 12, they did. Top 5, you'd be hard-pressed to find that.
Tate was expected to go in the top 10 of the draft, and a lot of people had him about 7, 8, right in there.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what about Falk? Where was he rated?
So I said it earlier, Dane Brugler, and he's just one analyst, but my analyst at The Athletic, he had Tate as the 10th pick, or as the 10th overall prospect of the draft. He had Falk as the 15th overall prospect in the draft.
Yeah.
So he was very high on him, even though, there's a lot of, but I think most people had Falk as a first round grade.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and you'll see Sala will make, that's probably his kind of player Falk is. I just hope that Tate turns out. I mean, like I said, like we've all said, he wasn't even number 1 receiver on his team. When you spend that pick, number 4, on a receiver, it's like what y'all said a while ago. He best be at the top of the receiving charts in the NFL when the season is over with and done. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure he will.
Thank you for the call, Tim. Appreciate it. We got a lot more of your reaction to get to on the Titans front on the NFL draft. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. More coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Tee it up with us at the 5th annual 615 Open coming up May the 28th at Hermitage Golf Course. We are supporting Folds of Honor to help them fund life-changing scholarships for families of America's fallen heroes. You can register now to play or sponsor at 615open.com. Taking your reaction to Carnell Tate at number 4 for the Tennessee Titans. Let's head back to our phone line. Welcome in Gorilla to the program. Good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Man, what are these hillbillies not nosing about? Talking about that was a reach. Cam Ward was a reach. Man, come on. I mean, everybody knew that we pretty much wanted Love. We dreaded the fact that he was taking at 3. So we went with the next man, the best man there. What is a reach about going and getting a guy that you know is proven, that would have went in 7, wouldn't have been there at 9? Period. End of discussion. Why not looking at the upsides of this guy? Why are we not looking at the upsides of what we have? Now what you have, because we've never seen it as a fan base, as a market. We've never seen a quarterback and a receiver grow side by side one another. And for that guy that said we overreached for Cam Ward, you don't understand football. Get back in, oh my Lord. Anyway, Cam Ward, man, if you pay attention to our guy Cam has an ability to kind of raise the level of the receivers around him. This will be, honestly, the best receiver Cam Ward has thrown to, period. You can't tell me, guys, that our receiving room isn't better this morning than it was yesterday morning. I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I mean, I don't think there's
not nosing.
There's no doubt. Look, the receiving room is definitely better this morning.
No, the last point, I would not disagree with the last point at all.
I think the question is just how good is Tate going to be? Now, he does bring up an interesting point there, like the quarterback and young receiver, back-to-back really high picks like that. Right.
But again, that's inaccurate. It didn't work out, but that's exactly what Corey Davis was drafted to be for Marcus Mariota.
Exactly.
It just didn't work out on either front eventually. Now, after Mariota left, Davis had his best year with Tannehill throwing to him, and he had a good year and then got paid because of it. But that was the idea. And by the way, when they drafted A.J. Brown, Mariota was still the starting quarterback. But again, the reach thing is like, maybe we need like an in-between word. It's a slight reach. Like, no one projected Carnell Tate to go in the top 4 of the draft. Again, our guy Brugler had him as the 10th overall prospect. It's not as much of a reach as Corey Davis. Corey Davis, I went back through all these mocks last night because I got in an argument.
It was a big reach.
That was like a lot of people had Corey Davis going 18 to the Titans. There was a run on receivers. It was Williams, Ross, and Davis all went higher than people Williams was the one guy people thought would go really high. So they took him at 5. That was a much bigger reach than this, but this is a slight reach. It's okay. It doesn't mean it won't. Again, he could end up being the greatest receiver of all time. I don't know that he won't, but we're basing it on right now is just what the conventional wisdom was on all these prospects going in the draft. That's what we've been talking about for months.
Let's head back to the phone line. Welcome in David to the program. David, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
Good.
So, hey, I've got 3 reasons why I think Carnell Tate is a great pick. Number one is look where he was developed, Ohio State. We're talking about wide receiver U, and it's no question now they've had 6 number 1 draft picks in the first round, 6 years in a row, number 1 draft picks. So the quality of room that he's been in and what the coaching he's gotten is number 1. Number 2, I think because of the quality of work, the games they played in. He's played in a national championship. He's played in big-time bowl games. I mean, think about that. And, and the number 3, they talk about how he, he wasn't the number 1 receiver at Ohio State this past year. Well, man, come on. We all know Jeremiah Smith is a freak. He probably would have been the number 1 pick the last 2 drafts. So, the quality of work and everything that he's done, I just think he's going to be a great pick for the Titans.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it. Look, the Ohio State receiver thing is interesting. We've talked about this a lot on the Tate front leading into the draft it's worked out pretty well for those guys. Now, I will say the one guy that everybody kind of looked at throughout that process with all these different Ohio State wide receivers that were like, well, yeah, this guy ain't going to miss, is Marvin Harrison Jr. And I think he's the one right now where you look at it and say,
who went 4
I don't
overall.
know about him.
No, exactly. Yeah, it has been an incredible run for them, and it means something. Like they develop guys there. I mean, Hartline has been central in all that.
Sure.
Brian Hartline and the scheme, and they develop guys. They obviously recruit tremendous players. I mean, Jeremiah Smith, I think, was the number 1 recruit in the country, right? I think so. If not, he should have been.
Yeah.
So in some cases, it's like you're just getting incredible talent. But like they've turned out so many really players who have gone to the NFL and not disappointed. But Marvin Harrison Jr. is right now a disappointment. He also went 4th. And by the way, when he went 4th, it was not like there were not questions like there are with this guy. Overall, though, I agree. Like the Ohio State thing, it's not helmet scouting, it's system and player development scouting. It's a good thing. I mean, I who has the rant today? What? Who's
You
ranting?
do.
I have the rant
Yeah.
today. Yeah. I mean, the whole number one. Some of the dunking on some of these criticisms is just like, I mean, it's just a broken record. But I'll save that. But look, it's not a bad pick. Here's the text. It says a Western Michigan wide receiver is not the same as Ohio State wide receiver. Well, sure. I mean, that was one of the questions was with Corey Davis.
Quality of competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like we also have seen where did what's his name go? I mean,
That narrows it down.
where did what's it? Who did who and the what now? The guy he plays with Seattle now. He played for the Rams before. Cooper Kupp, Eastern Washington. I mean, like you can have great players at every single position in the NFL. You will find a Pro Football Hall of Famer who played at like some small place. So you have to remember that. But no, I think Ohio State is definitely a real thing in terms of liking taking a receiver from there. I mean, for the most part, and Harrison is the one exception in recent times, they've probably come in as good or better than expected.
Yeah, and Harrison. I mean, I'm not giving up on Harrison.
No, he's still like
Harrison
good
cooked
player.
the Titans last year, so there was that. So it's the Arizona Cardinals too, so you have to keep that in mind on the Marvin Harrison front. I'm just saying, I like the history of drafting Ohio State wide receivers in the first round. That also doesn't guarantee that Carnell Tate's going to work out just because he went to Ohio State.
No. Listen, I think it's a high floor pick, so I think he's going to be a good player. He's going to catch passes here. I think he'll be their best receiver.
I totally agree.
But like again,
does he solve what we've been talking about since the moment AJ Brown walked out the door is finding a number 1 overall, a number 1 wide receiver, not your number 1 wide receiver, not, hey, this is our depth chart and he's got to be number 1, but a legitimate number 1 in the NFL that opposing defenses look at and they say, oh crap, we got to play against Carnell Tate this week. Is he that? That's what I care about. And if he's that, great. I love it. If he's pretty good, it's not like it's going to be just a disaster of a pick. Like if he ends up being a pretty good number 2, but when you're taking a wide receiver at number 4, I need him to be somebody that opposing defenses look at and say, well, you better get in the film room this week because we've got a big problem on our hand coming up on Sunday with Carnell Tate out there.
Yeah, you said it earlier. It's like that. Go look at the draft over a certain number of years at where guys are taken, and at where he was taken, he needs to be in pretty short order one of the top 10 to 15 receivers in the NFL.
Yes, that's what he needs to be, and we'll see whether or not he's that. But like the people saying, it's all over the map with the reaction of like, are we sure that he's like, somebody asked are we sure he's a starting wide receiver on the Titans right now? I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, someone's like, is he going to be at Io Manor? If not, wow, sound the alarm.
It's a huge problem if not. But yeah, like he's going to, as I said to begin the show, I like Carnell Tate. I've always liked Carnell Tate. Is he going to be elite? That's what the question is with him. We will continue to take your reaction to Tate at number 4. We got TD coming up at 8:00. Looking forward to getting his thoughts. We'll take your thoughts on Falk at number 31 for the Titans. Also, we'll get to a couple other big moves in the first round of the draft, including players taken maybe a little earlier than we thought, and some players that are still on the board as we enter into round 2. We'll get into all that. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Got some tickets to give away to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race, the Float 200, coming up at Nashville Super Speedway on Friday, May the 29th. Caller number 6, 615-737-1025. Caller 6 will win a pair of tickets to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race coming up May the 29th. Talking all things NFL draft, we have the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up here in about 10 minutes. Terron Davenport from ESPN, but we'll be with us at 8 o'clock. I can't tell if Rexrode is looking forward to or dreading the Rex Rant coming up.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I'm not either.
I might yell at myself.
We'll see. We'll see.
Plenty of issues with myself.
A lot of thoughts rolling in on Carnell Tate at number 4 for the Titans. Keldrick Falk coming in at number 31. Keep those coming at 615-737-1025. Joe, quickly, before we dive back into all that stuff, a couple other highlights from the draft last night. You've got Ruben Bain falling to 15. He goes at 15 overall to Tampa Bay. And just before that, Ty Simpson going at number 13 to the LA Rams. So we wondered, where was Ty Simpson going to go in this draft? There was a lot of talk about maybe Arizona moving back up into the first round at the end of the first round to go get him if he was still there. Obviously, people wondered if he was there at 21, would he go to Pittsburgh with the uncertainty with Aaron Rodgers? And, it's not the first time Simpson and his name has been brought up in connection to the Rams, right? People were looking at the Rams and they say, all right, well, how much longer is Matthew Stafford going to play? What's that going to look like? Well, that's where he goes at number 13 overall to the Rams. I think I just saw a stat on ESPN. It's the first time since I think 1967 or something like that the team has drafted a quarterback in the first round that has the reigning NFL MVP at quarterback on their roster. Now, the Packers did this a few years ago before Rodgers had won 2 consecutive MVPs when they drafted Jordan Love, and he waited 3 years. It kind of feels like that's how this may go with Ty Simpson, too, is they draft him. They've got Stafford. We know for this year, I wouldn't be surprised if Stafford plays 2 more years. And then you've got Simpson waiting in the wings after that. What did you make of the Rams at number 13 overall going with Ty Simpson?
Great for Simpson. Awesome for them. Great kid. It's really exciting for him and his family. And he made the right decision. There are a lot of people who didn't think he was going to go in the first round at all. A lot of people dunking on Dan Orlovsky for looking at film of him and saying he's pretty good. Again, we've talked about this, but pre-injury Simpson last year was probably as good as the quarterback play was getting in college football. And then it looked different later. But obviously the injury seems to be past it. Sean McVay, I kind of respect his opinion on quarterback play. So awesome for him. My issue is, and this has got to be a Stafford's issue too, is so we're this close, right? Like we are on the doorstep.
I think they're the second best team in the NFL last year.
We have this issue with Puka Nacua, and you're taking the quarterback of the future right now.
Right.
Like at that pick, you could have helped me a ton.
Right.
And if we end up one player away, boy, am I going to be pissed off at the end. That's the issue.
Yep.
I get teams. You are working on multiple timelines, if you're thinking long-term. And I think that's a good way to think in general. And I love the best time to take the quarterback is when you don't need one. I like that adage, but I also just feel like, man, if the Rams come up just short, people are going to be upset. I can't imagine Rams fans are super thrilled about this.
I think that's a tough internal battle because, Orlovsky was on the McAfee broadcast last night. And he made this point too. It's like, well, I hear everything about you're one player away potentially from winning the Super Bowl, and that makes sense. But you're also if you're the Rams, when's the next time you're going to be in position to draft your quarterback of the future? I mean, his point was as long as McVay is there and Stafford's there, you're going to be good. Now, probably varying degrees of good, but I fully believe they were the second best team in the league last year. The Rams Seahawks NFC Championship game was like the de facto Super Bowl. And they're right there. They're going to be right there again this year. We'll see what that looks like. So, I mean, you're probably next year picking what? Like 27th, 28th, 30th, 32nd. The year after that, you're probably picking in the 20s. You could find a quarterback there, but at 13 with Ty Simpson, clearly your evaluation was that you loved him. You strike there. But to your point, if they get to the divisional round this year and they lose by 3 points in the last drive of the game, have anybody out there making a play for them, you're going to go back to this and say, well, what if you took Mekhi Lemon there at number 13? What could that have looked like?
Yeah, exactly. Someone's saying here that McVay said he hadn't spoken to Simpson and didn't look happy at the presser. Looks like Les Snead went rogue. There's no way Les Snead
There's
went
no
rogue.
way he's making
Les
that
Snead did
ticket
not go
up
rogue on
without
Sean
McVay.
McVay. I
Yeah.
promise you.
Now, I did hear that he didn't speak to him, which is interesting.
That's because they told him 3 months ago that he's going to be the pick.
It could be.
I mean, seriously, I think that this whole time with Simpson and the whole decision, it's like,
Yeah.
I think that
There was a bunch of reports came out that Simpson recently turned down a bunch of NIL money to go somewhere, right? I can't remember exactly the school.
well, Tennessee
You'd have to be-
tried to get him, and
But as we talked about when all that was going on, like when you better be sure you're a first round pick. Well,
Yeah.
clearly they were.
He was obviously
Yeah.
being told by somebody, right, in NFL circles or his agent that he was going to be legit first rounder. Otherwise, you can't turn down that money, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
yes. Yeah, I truly believe that he's known for a long time that he would be the Rams pick. And like even his reaction last night, I understand once they go to the camera on prospects, like they've already been on the phone with the team, but he still was just like, yep. I was like, you've known this forever, haven't you?
Yeah.
So, and hey, if you know, then you look at the board and some of the guys who could have helped the Rams this year, and we'll see. Because the point is to try to win championships, and they are so close right now.
What do you think of Jermod McCoy still being on the board as round 2 begins today? Colton Hood still out there too. Colton Hood was projected to be like back part of the first round, maybe early second round. So I'm not necessarily surprised that he's still out there. But McCoy, we talked about a potential slide with him yesterday with Charles Robinson. Well, it has happened. He has slid out of the first round. What do you make of him still being on the board?
Yeah, well, it could be an incredible value pick for someone now, but like if the other knee is seriously like a problem, ACL repairs, that happens all the time. Okay, fine, but like if there's this other weird thing with the other knee, could it be a long wait for him? I don't know.
Yeah, you want to know?
It's too bad.
You want to know a sentence that I'm almost scared to utter out loud? But my reaction to this when I saw how it shook out yesterday, I think the Jets have done an outstanding job in the first round. They took David Bailey at 2.
Yeah.
And I love the Sadiq pick for them at number 16. Like that, I think Sadiq, that tight end, is going to be really good in the NFL.
Yeah. I think
the only thing that makes me hesitant about is like, well, it is the Jets. How could they possibly screw this up?
Like an athletic freak that the Jets take, who ends up doing absolutely nothing, kind of rings, I don't know.
It would be par for the course.
Yeah,
it would be. And it seems like the Jets have a real knack for making picks that look good look a lot worse, like not long after.
Yep.
So, but I agree with you. I definitely agree. And I agree. Some people on the text line celebrating Jerry. How about them Cowboys? Jerry didn't screw it up. I agree. Like they weren't, we're going to trade up for Jeremiah Love. Again, every year we hear about how Jerry's going to do something wild. They never trade up, and they sit there and Caleb Downs falls to him.
Yep.
It's pretty good.
Your boy Mekhi Lemon goes to 20 to the Philadelphia Eagles, further cementing that A.J. Brown's going to be out of there.
So, yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, I guess to the whatever is going to happen in New England.
Heck of a day for them yesterday.
Good God. But yeah, Lemon. So apparently Lemon was on the phone with the Steelers. Is that right?
Yeah.
The Steelers were about to just make that 300,000 fan crowd go wild. And then the Eagles traded in and grabbed him.
Yeah, apparently so.
You, Philly. Man.
Some Pennsylvania on Pennsylvania crime.
Yeah, that's
not
right.
just the hockey series going on. Philadelphia, just dominating all that. So good stuff out there. See the doctor for Proctor at number 12. For the Miami Dolphins. So Malik Willis gets his guy on the offensive line there. Caden Proctor going to be protecting him. Maybe give him the ball a couple times because they have nobody else to give the ball to.
He's already demanding the ball.
Yep.
I feel like there was a theme last night, him and a few other guys with Mel Kiper, which is like, yeah, this guy could be the greatest player ever, but will you be?
I didn't see any of the ESPN broadcasts last night. Did Kiper bring up Shedeur Sanders like 15 times, or has he moved on?
I don't. That's the one I watched. I don't remember one mention of Shedeur. So
that's good.
other than when they drafted the receiver, and it was like, oh, some help
Oh, yeah.
possibly for Shador. I got a texter. This is a very good point, texter. I deserve this. This texter on Monday said, "What's stopping the Cardinals from taking Love?" And I was like, "They have way bigger needs. Connor and Algier. No, that's not going to happen."
No.
You're right. That did not age well.
It did not. But
all the smoke was true,
week,
man.
I didn't believe it. Like I did not believe that Arizona was going number 3, Jeremiah Love, but they did. So good for them.
Sometimes the smoke is real smoke.
Sometimes it is. 615-737-1025, our phone number. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up next. TD with us at 8 o'clock. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
You must love me more.
Where's the discipline?
Yeah.
We need a hard ass in there. Put his ass into a guy and need to invest quite that much on the back end. The biggest ass in town.
A pineapple? I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, I'm a big swinger.
You owe the fans an apology.
Daddy, I may now say you suck. Everyone sucks. Google Gaga. Suck, suck, suck.
All you do is you scream and you scream. It is time for the Rex Rant, brought to you by Rapid Response Generators. Power when it matters the most. Check them out at rapidresponsegenerators.com. Joe Rexrode, the floor is yours.
That was some lovely PK memories right there. That's one of my favorite ones.
Google Gaga. You suck, you suck, you suck. Hey, Cardell.
He's got Tate now. You can ask him about the yards after the catch. He's got Tate Taylor.
How many touchdowns?
How do you feel about yourself as a yards after the catch guy?
Alante, how many touchdowns would Cardell Tate score on you, do you think?
By the way, in the break, I was just watching like the call of Griffin Hendrickson's home run to beat Ravenwood and win the series. And the shot, I hadn't seen the video, absolute laser out of there. Good call on there. What is this? Aero Sports TN. Katie just sent this to me.
There you go.
I'm just randomly musing right now, saying whatever. I just want to take it back to what we're talking about, which is Cardinal Tate. I thought we'd probably talk more about Keldrick Falk today. We can talk some with TD about it, about both of them. But Tate is it's very polarizing. Yeah. So here, this is all I really have to say in the way of a rant, which is let's all remember that we don't know what the hell's going to happen. We don't know. These people who spend millions, they show these draft rooms last night, and it's like, wow, there's 28 dudes in suits all giving each other bro hugs. Oh, good job. I mean, this is just a massive, massive operation. Millions and millions spent to try to figure out if these college football players are going to be good professional football players, and you're freaking wrong all the time. The people who get paid millions to make the decisions are wrong all the time. So what does that make us? It makes us totally clueless. I don't know. Colonel Tate could be incredible. He could be a total bust. I'm totally open-minded on any of it. Let's just all recognize our limitations. And with some of I actually thought, like, as I woke up today, I'm like, I feel a little better about that pick than I did in the moment, But some of the arguing on behalf, I think, is actually more annoying to me. This is actually an interesting point, Robby, and you pointed it out. There's an unnamed texter who says, people say that Tate benefited from Jeremiah Smith being on the field. The same hold true for the three defensive players from Ohio State making each other more explosive. I agree with that. We've talked about that.
Yep.
He also says A.J. Brown wasn't the number one on his team in college. GK Metcalf was, and Brown was not expected to become what he did. So Tate will be all right. I agree with that whole text except for the end. You don't know he'll be all right. He might suck. He might be the best receiver ever. But it is a reach, a slight reach based on expectations. I'm sorry, we don't have the team's boards. Every team is going to tell you, no team will ever admit to reaching or that they liked another player better. We haven't even talked about the Titans possibly trying to trade back.
Yeah.
Do we know that the Titans weren't really hoping that someone would trade? And then they were like, well, we'll take Tate then. We do know that Arvell Reese was there and they didn't take him. But it is a slight reach by what we go by, okay? By what we go by, it was a slight reach. Not a huge reach, slight reach.
Recognizing that there are limitations in that, right? I mean, it means nothing by the time the player steps on the field.
Absolutely. I mean, we're just going. I mean, all of this is a lot of stuff that's created by media, and that's what it is. And as far as being the number 2 receiver on his team, that's everyone's saying, yeah, the other guy is like a generational player. And look at these. I agree with all that. But there is something about it that matters. It's that the other guy gets the best corner. Most teams in college football might have one NFL corner. If they did, he guarded Jeremiah Smith whenever they matched up. He didn't guard Carnell Tate.
Yeah.
if a team doubled, if they bracketed someone, it was Jeremiah Smith. It wasn't Carnell Tate. So is that the end of the world or the most important thing? Does it mean he can't be great? No, but it's not completely meaningless.
I totally agree.
Actually, I yelled more than I thought I would. Sorry.
No, I totally agree. Like it's worth discussing, right? And again, there's examples that we've talked about of guys who weren't necessarily the number one guy in college on their teams that have worked out pretty darn well in the NFL.
And Ohio State receivers are a great example.
Yeah.
They've had receiving cores with like 3
for sure
future pro stars.
Exactly. So that doesn't necessarily mean that Tate can't be a legitimate number one wide receiver in the NFL. But to your point, it is worth considering that he wasn't always getting like the hardest matchups out there. So what's that going to mean in the NFL?
And sometimes, so he probably benefited from being on Smith's team, right? I would think so. Liam McLeod says, here's what bothers me. If you're saying Tate was a reach, even a small one, then you are assigning a strict value to each pick. If that's the case, then you need to be on board with tanking the moment you know you aren't a playoff team. Otherwise, winning meaningless games is exactly the same as reaching in the draft. I don't think you're assigning a strict value. Again, you're just going with projections. So based on the projections, everything is based on the projections. And it's not based on the NFL teams boards because they don't share that information. I wish they did.
Well, and
after the fact, make it a rule, Roger Goodell.
Also, again, I keep going back to this. The direct point of comparison here is going to be Arvell Reese. And they're very different prospects, obviously, because they play different positions, but also in the way that they're viewed, right? Like Arvell Reese, I think a lot of people think if he hits his ceiling, could be one of the best pass rushers in the league, right? Like people were making Micah Parsons comparisons, which I always get a little wary of when you start doing stuff like that, but that's what they were doing, is making those comparisons. Like, I don't see anybody making Carnell Tate, like, well, if he reaches his ceiling, he could be Justin Jefferson out there. Like, I don't see a ton of that. I do feel like people think that his floor is pretty high.
It's a good floor.
NFL.
It's a high floor
and
pick.
Probably a higher floor than Reese would be my guess.
Yes, no question. Higher floor than Reese, higher ceiling than Tate. So, look, I'd love to know, and this is just information we won't have. It's like the Titans' specific evaluation of Reese. I bet you there are some teams who agreed with Brugler and had him as the best player. And I bet you there were some teams that were like, man, I need more demonstrated production there before I buy that. So now the Reese thing will be, and the thing is, I think Tate will be a good player for the Titans. I think T. Higgins, I don't hate that comparison. People are trying to do the Hopkins thing. I don't buy that. Hopkins is so physical. And that's where it's like, this guy hasn't been super physical. T. Higgins, that's not a bad comparison.
No.
So is T. Higgins, is T. Higgins good enough at number 4?
No, he's not.
But if you have
me,
I agree. Now, if that's what he is, like it's not gonna be like people are gonna be like, there will be other things to complain about more than Carnell Tate, but it's still, if that's the case and Reese is Parsons part duh, well, that's when the screaming will be warranted.
Well, like I said, if you're drafting a wide receiver at number 4, you need that guy to be not that far down the list of best wide receivers in the NFL. I mean, that's what it needs to be here in a couple of years, and we'll see whether or not he ends up being that guy. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. Terron Davenport with us coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
ESPN's Terron Davenport talking Titans now on Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It is that time of the week. We head to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Terron Davenport to the program.
You trying to have TD pissed off right away?
Presented by Bart Durham Injury Law. We're just going to pretend like the Mets don't exist. TD, good morning. How are you?
I wasn't going to bring him up at all.
Hey, good morning. Well, hey, listen, man, they've won 2 games in a row. So,
okay.
Got a little temporary happiness, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Coming back.
So is that what you were doing, Ian? You knew that? I didn't realize that. As far
Streak
as I
is
knew,
over.
they've lost like 15 in a row.
Streak is over.
That's for
Thank
sure.
goodness.
Yeah, they had
You and
lost
Willie.
12 in a row. They lost 12 in a row. Then they won back-to-back games. But in true Mets fashion, in their first win, Francisco Lindor was injured, hurt his calf, and he's on the injured list. And, yeah, that's just the way things go. We can't have a good thing.
Apparently not. Apparently not. So, TD, we will get your reaction on the Keldrick Falk pick coming up. There's a lot going on with Titans fans and their reaction to what happened yesterday in the first round. But let's just start on Carnell Tate at number 4. You've got Arvell Reese on the board at 4. Sonny Styles is on the board, and they end up going with Carnell Tate. So what did you make, number 1, of that decision, that move, and what do you think of the player the Titans have ended up with in Carnell Tate?
Well, it was such a surprise that Carnell Tate himself was surprised about it. So, I mean, that's something that you have. But I think, look, this just shows how badly they wanted a number 1 receiver. And I think when you look at Carnell Tate, he fits what they need. You know, we've talked about making sure they didn't have more of the same. Well, he's a downfield threat. I know he ran the 4.5, and as I've said before, that's not slow. He's still a legit downfield threat. He attacks the ball well. He's a separator. And as Mike Berganza said, you know, he likes what he does at the top of the route. So I think that's something that is going to be good for them. I just, you know, when you draft a guy in the top 5, though, you're asking for a big return. And to me, right, a lot of these people have said, hey, if you draft Sonny Styles, number 4, he better be Ray Lewis. If you draft, Jeremiah Love, number 4, he better be Walter Payton. Well, I'm not saying Carnell Tate better be Jerry Rice, but they're gonna need a lot from him, and that's what's going to be asked.
Yeah, no doubt. So comparison, I feel like you always have good comparison. So if there is another receiver, because people have thrown out Hopkins, and I just don't think Tate has that physicality. He has the catch radius maybe, but not the. But people have thrown out T. Higgins. Who comes to mind for you to give fans a visual of what Carnell Tate plays like?
For me, it's George Pickens. And the way they both have tremendous body control, the way they go up and get the football, the way they're able to track it downfield, that's the comparison for me where they have similarities. And I think that's been my comparison for him for quite some time, and that's how I see it.
In terms of the receiving room, TD, if he is right from the jump close to what they think he can be, what does this do for Cam Ward in terms of obviously, you know, having him as the target out there, but also now the depth at wide receiver when you're talking about Ridley, Wan'Dale Robinson, and maybe downshifting Io Manor and DK into like that 4th, 5th wide receiver role, depending on, you know, how they decide to use those guys?
Yeah, it gives him a legit number X X downfield receiver. I think that's really the main thing. And so now, you know, you look at it, you got Calvin Ridley working Z, you got Carnell Tate at X, Wan'Dale Robinson at the slot, and then you got DK who could kind of shift between the Z and the slot. You got Iron Manor at X, and you know, Bryce Oliver and some of the other guys, you know, at X and moving around too. So I think what it does is just kind of round out what they're looking for as far as to have as a group of receivers. And that's the way I see it. But I do wonder how much Tate is going to be able to adjust to the press coverage that comes with playing in the NFL and also adjust to, hey, you're the number 1 guy. We're going to put Derek Stingley on you. We're going to put Patrick Surtain the second on you. Like, that's what we're going to do. So how are you going to adjust to it?
Yeah. And that's And that's the thing. I mean, the whole number 2 receiver on your college team. I mean, some people take that too far because Jeremiah Smith is going to be the number 1 to like any other receiver, but
Right.
it has helped. I mean, you can't say it hasn't helped Tate in matchups in terms of not being doubled as much, not having the clear best corner on him, right? Things like that. I mean, that's what he's going to have to adjust to. But TD, I want to ask you about Keldrick Falk. Why? Obviously, the Titans loved him. I mean, there's no question. When you move up as they did to go get a guy, I mean, to me, like that's their guy. Why is he there? Because there's a lot of other guys. We're gonna see Zion Young and Cassius Winston. These guys go off here soon. Why is he the guy? How does he fit in this particular defense?
Yeah, I tell you, it's a pick that really surprised me, and I especially with a move up, but. I will say a lot of boards had him as a top 25 guy. So there may be some value there, but I think you look at the skill set, the length. We know that Robert Saleh always likes length on the edge. But then I think the versatility too. But then the question you ask is, okay, the production.
Yeah.
What happened to the production? And that's why I asked him, man, you got 30 pressures. How did you only get to the quarterback and take him down twice? You know, he talked about the pad level and talked about, you know, having the way he was asked the 2 gap and you know, those types of things. But, I mean, I remember that same conversation being made about Shamar Stewart. And, you know, that worked out so well that the Bengals traded the number 10 pick for, you know, Dexter Lawrence. So that's something you got to consider. But, I mean, I think really they're banking on the upside. And one of the things that Borgazzi said was, hey, you know, we got good coaches that will develop them. They have to figure out a way, you know, at 6'6", he has to play with a lower pad level.
Well, you bring up the size there, TD, and like you said, I mean, they go up to 31 to get him. You were scheduled to pick at 35. I mean, my guess is you could find some edge rushers there at 35 that people would have liked. So, I mean, this tells me that somebody in that building, multiple somebodies in that building absolutely love Keldrick Falk. So, like, the production scares me, though. I'll be honest with you. The 2 sacks last year, as you just mentioned, that kind of terrifies me about this pick.
Yeah, I mean, 10 sacks in 3 years, like that's, you know, that's not good. Bottom line, but I mean, again, this is one of them things where it's like, okay, our coaching staff could get the best, or we like this ball of clay, and we're gonna mold it into something. And you know, he compared Borgazzi, that is, compared him to Eric Armstead. And when he did that, I was like, okay, all right, I could see this. But still, that's not what they, in my opinion, like they need that guy coming off that wide 9.
Yeah.
You know, that fastball coming off the edge. They still don't have that. But, I mean, look, if you're going to go for a situational guy, there are some that they could get, but I mean, they're running out of opportunities because they don't have a pick at 35. They don't have a pick at 66, but at 69, what do you want to do? And we'll see.
So, TD, hypothetical for you here, because you know, obviously it ends up being, and you and I were talking yesterday after our show before you went on, you know, with Jake on the Cardinals situation, you know, and it turns out to be you had it nailed, and other people, all that smoke turned out to be real. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If Jeremiah Love were there last night and the Titans are looking at, you know, and they're looking at him or Tate, do you think they still take Tate?
Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, look, you could say yes because they took him over Reese, and you figure Reese was, you know, one of the pass rushers that was coveted. I don't know, man. That's a great question. That's a really good question. I can't tell you. Honestly, I can't tell you.
Do you think that the Titans were actively, like, was this sort of like they end up having the second pick, but they were hoping to move down? Do you think that they were hoping that someone was going to come up and give them an extra pick?
Well, that's what I'm curious about, because that's what was being put out there. But I mean, you know, there was a deal with the Chiefs, you know, moved up to number 6. And I wonder if that package would have been presented to a guy who used to be in that building and Mike Borgazzi to move down. So I don't know. I believe they wanted to, but then I mean, like every indication I got was that hey, if Reese was going to be there, that's going to be the pick. So who knows, man? You talk about smoke screens and blame the Cardinals for it. It seems like Mike Berganti did a pretty good job, like that old Spy Hunter game. Remember when the smoke screen would come and spin you off the road? I think Mike Berganti was driving that same black car.
Well, it's interesting too, TD. Like, if you told Titans fans, I think a couple of months ago that, hey, your first two picks in the draft are going to be a wide receiver and an edge rusher, they would have said, yeah, good. But the way that it's shaken out here is pretty interesting. So as you mentioned, not another pick at the moment scheduled until pick 69 coming up in the early part of the third round. Is that, in your opinion, when you start to take a look at the interior of the offensive line and say, all right, we got some pretty glaring holes here. We got to find a way to address that if you're the Titans?
I think it is, but what's going to be left, right? Will Emmanuel Pregnon be on the board? I maybe Chase Basantis is probably going to be gone, by the time they get to the third round. So it's a possibility. I think you also have to look at some of the guys, that could play that nickel position, like your Jalen Kilgores, your those types. I think Keontae Scott, those. So there are a few directions that they could go. Fortunately for them, they did kind of knock off two big needs, right? And I think Tate is a buy one, get one free because, you need a receiver, but you also need a big play threat. And he's a guy, 5 catches of 40 yards or more touchdowns, that is. And the Titans had 3 passing plays of 40 yards or more. So he instantly brings something there. So, there's different directions they could go. I would say those 2 positions that I mentioned are going to be involved.
Yeah, I'd say that's it's probably a safe bet there. TD, great stuff as always, man. Appreciate you taking time to be with us on what is a very busy weekend for you. And we will talk to you next week, my man.
All right, for sure. Appreciate you guys. Take care.
Absolutely. Terron Davenport with us every Friday morning at 8 o'clock here on the program. Presented by Bart Durham Injury Law. We'll take your reaction to what TD had to say. The Titans taking Carnell Tate at number 4, Keldrick Falk at number 31 last night in the first round of the NFL draft. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Today, Vanderbilt baseball taking on Texas at Hawkins Field. First pitch at 6 o'clock. You can catch all the action on 102.5 The Game. Coverage presented by Gary Force Acura. We are presented by Green Ventures Landscaping here on the program. Outdoor patios, landscaping design, lawn maintenance, and more. Check them out at greenventureslandscaping.com. Titans take Carnell Tate at number 4, Keldrick Falk at number 31 in the first round last night. Taking your full reaction to that. Let's welcome in Adam in Portland to the program. Adam, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Just so you know, man, I jumped in late, so I have no idea what anybody feels about this. But I had like 5 minutes of, we do this every year. Like, they're always going to make a weird pick whenever they selected Tate. And then I started to go, okay, he's pretty good. Like, I started talking myself into it. Then you trade back in and you get rid of some good picks to get a run-stuffing D end. That's what they call him. The dude does not sack anybody. He just runs stuff. Like, it's a mixed bag, dude. I don't know. I don't know how anybody else feels about it, but it's a mixed bag for me. Like, yeah, we need. I guess I didn't want us to take a receiver, but he's a pretty good receiver. But then you trade back in for a slow D end. So I don't get that, man.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate the call.
So I will say that's not entirely true. You know, his numbers are very good. He has very good speed especially for his size. He didn't finish plays. And to TD, like TD's his skepticism, I think, is totally warranted there. Like, you have to, like, you want to see people who finish these plays in college football because it's harder to finish plays in the pros. But he did have 30 pressures. I think that's the number. 30 pressures, 2 sacks last year. So he gets there. He gets upfield. He gets past blockers. He affects the quarterback. Can the Titans get him to sack the quarterback? I will say too that if there's a group of players that I would feel good about this coaching staff developing, it would probably be front 7 players.
I would agree. The lack of production scares me. And
yeah, that's totally fair.
TD brought up the Shamar Stewart comparison. Like, and it's interesting. I mean, Shamar Stewart,
we talked about that
a ton with him. He had no production in college. Like, he barely got to the quarterback at all. And I understand he didn't play that much last year. He played in 8 games for Cincinnati. He had 1 sack. It's like, I understand you look at the intangibles, you look at the measurables, you look at, there's so much that goes into where these guys get drafted beyond just straight up production. But straight up production does matter, right? Like, that's a big part of this too. So if he couldn't finish in the SEC last year, do you think he's all of a sudden magically just going to start finishing this year in the NFL? Maybe he will. Maybe this coaching staff identified things about that they feel like they can correct pretty easily. I don't know. That just scares the crap out of me if I'm a Titans fan.
Yeah. And look, I will say, again, I've been citing the whole Carnell Tate thing. Look, we still have the debate in this town over the Cam do's and the what are you doings, and that continues to rage on. We need to remember these wonderful names,
these terms. Yes.
Look, today we're just kicking off the Carnell Yaz and the Taters. Okay, it's the Carnell Yaz versus the Taters. And it's intense already.
That one needs work.
Is that not very good? Hater? No? Yeah. All right. But I
don't know whether to applaud you or to tell you to turn your microphone off.
Smack me. If you need to come over here and smack me, it's fine. But I will say on the Brugler aspect of this, he's not as high on Tate, like number 10 prospect. He's got Falk 15. He said, it's worth the risk. He thinks it's worth the risk. He's not slow, though. He's not to Adam's call there, like, he's not a slow run stuffing guy. He's a guy who didn't finish. It's still a concern. But, like, the measurables are there for a guy who can actually beat tackles and get to quarterback.
TD and PK have both brought this up. He's not really the wide 9 guy. Right? Like, he's not really that guy flying around the edge.
Like Reese could have been.
Right. So it's
right.
It's a different style of player. He may end up being the right player. I don't know. But it's different than what you think about with, Reese or Bailey coming off the edge over there.
A couple of texts I want to get to real quick. Dennis asked, what would it look like if they went edge, then receiver? And it's Reese and probably Denzel Boston. which sounds kind of good, I must tell you.
Yeah, Denzel Boston's still on the board.
Recent, like if they, again, if they were going to move,
where did Omar
up,
Cooper go last
he
night?
went
Was he 30th? Is he right before the Titans?
I think he went to the Jets around. Yeah, I feel like that's right around 30.
Yeah.
And then someone cited this stat. Apparently, it's Wes Wisley, who was a Titans fan who. So, I don't know like where these come from, but if this is true, the only power forward wide receiver prospect since 2018, passer rating when targeted of 140 or better, contested catch rate 68% or better, missed tackle rate 20% or better would be Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, Carnell Tate. So
there you go. If
If
he's
that's
anything like
true-
those three, that's great.
yes,
I'll take it.
You would be happy with that.
I will take that. Look, the Tate pick, there's been a lot of reaction to that today. A lot of people kind of on both sides of that argument. I said it to begin the show. I like Carnell Tate. I have questions about whether or not Carnell Tate's going to turn into a player worthy of being drafted at number 4, which by my definition is when you're drafting a wide receiver at number 4, you need to be pretty high on the list of best wide receivers in the NFL pretty quickly in your career. He doesn't have to be it by game 1, but toward the end of next year, into his second year, you need to be looking at Carnell Tate and saying, yeah, there's not too many guys in the NFL I'd rather have catching the football for my quarterback than Carnell Tate, who we just took at number 4 overall.
Yeah, that's got to
be the standard.
It's got to be that good. It's got to be that good, and that's a high bar. And while you're looking at that, you're cringing and hoping that Arvell Reese doesn't become like this dominant, unbelievable, defensive player of the Giants. People asking about, with Falk, he is on a bad team, but Gover and others, like, what about the lack of production being on a bad team? Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to that. It's like the opposite of the Ohio State conversation with all these great defenders. But you can, if you're on a bad team and you're a great player who should go that high in the draft, you should still be able to get production.
You should have more than 2 sacks.
Yeah. There's plenty of players drafted in the NFL who played on bad teams. That happens. And if they're just individually great, then that's it. Someone said you just described Jadeveon Clowney. Well, actually, there might be a little bit of something there.
I mean, Jadeveon Clowney in college?
Well, I think as a prospect.
Okay.
And Clowney had more production, but there was a little bit of like projecting him to even do more in the NFL than he did at South Carolina, right?
That's true. Yeah. I mean, I'm
and
looking
physically, there's some similarities.
I think I need to pull up these stats. If memory serves me correctly, I think Clowney had a huge sophomore year, and then his junior year it was not that great. Let me pull it up. Yes. Okay. So yeah, his sophomore year, Clowney had 13 sacks in 2012. His junior year, he had 3.
Yeah.
He had 8 his first year. So you're talking 21 sacks first 2 years of college. Falk had 10 total in 3 years. So it's not the same, but it wasn't great for Clowney his junior year.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now, again, I don't care about Falk's freshman year. He did have 7 the second year.
He did.
Why did it go down from 7 to 2? At least like you have a 7-sack season in there. And he is only 20. That's another thing to.
Yeah, they're both young.
They're young.
Tate and the D end. So
yeah,
room to grow.
Yeah. People mentioning that apparently the Chiefs said that they were going to draft Tate. Yeah,
Well,
right at 9. Right, at
they
9.
said it's solidified when Tate
Solidified
got
moving
taken.
up.
Yeah, when Tate got taken, it solidified their idea to move up to the Chiefs to select
Delane.
So to the point of the small reach, that kind of validates it, right? Like a team that at 9 thought they'd have a chance at him. That's about where people had him going.
Yeah. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Continue to take your reaction to Carnell Tate at number 4 for the Titans and Keldrick Falk at number 31. We will get into weekend winners. Coming up next, Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
It's time to pick some winners. We hope. Robby and Rexrode have weekend winners for you. Now
on ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It is that time of the week. Weekend winners here on the program. A standings update in the competition. That's a horrible week for me last week. 1-5. No lock. Ian and Joe both went 4-2 with their locks, which brings the overall standings. Rexrode in first, 28-26, 5-4 on his locks, 33 points. Ian 23-31, 7-2 on his locks, 30 points. I am 24-30, 4-5 on my locks, 28 points. Garbage.
Still close.
Garbage.
Very close.
We begin. Vanderbilt and Texas coming up this weekend in a weekend series here in Nashville. Joe Rexrode, you were up first. Who you got to win the weekend series? Vanderbilt taking on a very good Texas team.
Yeah, a very good Texas team. And this would be massive for Vanderbilt, as Vanderbilt and Tennessee both try to do enough to get into the NCAA tournament, but I'm going to go with Texas.
Joe going with the Longhorns this weekend. Ian Safar, who we got between Vanderbilt and Texas?
I believe I saw Texas was ranked number 4.
Yep.
So I think I'm going to unfortunately have to take the Longhorns. Maybe, it's a home series here.
It is home.
So maybe the Doors can get 2 or 3, but I think I'm going to lean Texas.
I will go Longhorns as well. A clean sweep for Texas. Congratulations to Vanderbilt for winning the weekend series.
Big series win. Good
coming
job.
up this weekend. Good stuff on that front. Tampa Bay and Montreal in what has been an awesome series to this point in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Game 3 tonight at the Bell Center in Montreal, which will be a raucous environment. Ian, straight up, Tampa, Montreal, Game 3. Who we got?
Toughie right here. The Montreal youngsters showing out so far versus the Tampa Bay, I guess, veteran presence. Maybe no Hedman still, right?
Yeah.
He's still out. This is a tough one. I think I'm going to take Montreal.
Ian going with the kids. Montreal up there at home in Game 3. Give me Tampa. They need a big-time performance from Vasilevsky. I think they get it in this game. And I think Kucherov comes alive in Game 3 here. He got a big goal the other day in Game 2. I think he continues to produce here in Game 3. I'll go Tampa to win Game 3 on the road. Joe, who we got?
I think it's just going to be wild. Well, as wild as that place can get. Great history. Let's see a little new school wildness from those Montreal fans. I think that they're going to get it done in Game 3. Give me the Canadiens.
Going with the Canadiens in Game number 3. The Rockets and the Lakers in Game 3. Coming up tonight, Rockets are an 8.5-point favorite in this one. Give me the Lakers to cover the 8.5. I think they'll lose, but I will take them to cover the 8.5. Joe Rexrode, who we got?
I feel like the Rockets are due to just erupt, and I think it'll be a close game. Thank you. I actually didn't even. Wow.
You feel like they're going to blast off in Game 3?
They might just blast off on these suckers. I think they're going to end up winning by about 12 points. Give me the Rockets.
Going with the Rockets minus the 8.5. Ian Safar, who we got? Game 3 between the Rockets and Lakers.
Weird series here. Lakers dealing with some injuries. Houston also dealing with injuries with KD. LeBron's showing out.
Yep.
I'm surprised this number is so high, honestly, 8.5, which makes me go with Houston. I'm going to take Houston.
Going with the Rockets minus the 8.5 going up in Game 3. We move to the individual portion of the program. Joe Rexrode, your first individual selection.
So looking at Celtics Sixers, interesting. Celtics blow them out in Game 1. You're like, yeah. And then the Sixers blow them out in Game 2. Sixers are plus 7.5 at home in Game 3. I think the Celtics are going to win the series. I think the Celtics probably win this game tonight, but I think it's going to be a really good game. And I think the Sixers will take that 7.5, and I'll take them and the 7.5.
Going Sixers plus the 7.5 against the Celtics. Ian, your first individual selection.
Okay, my lock this week.
Guarantee.
I'm just going to go OKC minus 9.5 versus Phoenix. It's over. Sorry, Jake Lyman. I'm going to take OKC. I mean, 9.5 is a big number when you're up 3-0 on the road. So I'm going with my theory here. Going back with, OKC take the lead. 9.5.
And ain't much going on in that series. Just to go ahead, I've got the Thunder minus 9.5 as well. I will not make it my lock, but I do have the Thunder minus the 9.5.
I'm sorry, I had that one too.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
But you get the lock. You claim the lock. So that's fine.
So
we'll all take it.
We all have the Thunder minus
I
the
was just
9.5
getting out of my lock out of the way first. Let's just get her done.
against the Suns. I will also, for my second individual pick, give me the Minnesota Wild minus 1.5 against the Dallas Stars in Game 4. It's been a good series to this point. Minnesota killed them in Game 1. Heartbreaker the other day. I think they respond. I think they get a late empty netter to win by 2 in Game 4. So give me the Wild minus 1.5 in Game 4 to even that one up against the Dallas Stars.
I like Minnesota to win. The 1.5.
It scares me.
It scares me.
Yep. Ian, your second individual selection.
Okay, I'm going to go back to basketball. I'm going to show some faith in my Knicks to even this series up. Minus 1.5 versus the Hawks. They're favored after losing on the road. Going with the Knicks. They can win by a bucket. Get back in this series.
Need better from Brunson than we saw at the end of the game last night.
That was a terrible
That
shot.
was a rough last a couple possessions there from him.
Joe, your final individual selection.
Yeah, I don't really like to do this. Robbie, you do this a lot. It seems like that works out pretty well for you. I don't like going with the heart type thing, and especially making it your lock. But this is, my little brother's been freaking out about the Pistons, and then they just destroyed the Magic in the third quarter. It's like, yeah, they actually are a lot better than the Magic. I mean, maybe it's not a 1-8 split, but the Pistons in Game 3 are in Orlando. Orlando's getting 2.5. Give me the Pistons. They're going to win this game by 8 to 10 points and make that my lock.
Guaranteed. Taking the Pistons minus 2.5, locking down against the Orlando Magic. Ian, your final individual selection.
Yeah, I'll go back to them this week. Nashville SC.
There we go.
Not feeling it, though. A little bit of a long layoff here. Haven't played. Got the week off. Almost, I feel like that kind of backfires against them almost. They've been rolling, busy. They are at home versus Charlotte. They beat Charlotte on the road earlier this year. I'm going to give them an L.
Losing.
Yeah.
Charlotte coming up.
Yeah, I almost went draw, but I'm going straight L.
I think, is that your first L?
Ian's had
Maybe second.
I think it's the second one. Ian's had a pretty good feel for Nashville SC so far this year. Going with Nashville SC losing against Charlotte coming up this weekend. Give me Ducks Oilers over 6.5 goals coming up in Game 3.
No faith in Connor Ingram?
I don't have a faith in a single goalie in that series. Dostal's okay, but no, I don't have any faith in Connor Ingram at all. They should probably put that over under at 8.5. But we'll go over 6.5 lockdown on Ducks and Oilers.
Oilers. Have you heard of a guy named UC Saros?
Let me tell you this. I think they're in some trouble here. Like Anaheim
In
could
what
have won
way?
Game 1.
You think?
I think they could lose this series. Anaheim could have won Game 1. They did win Game 2, and now you're going back home. It's just I think if you're relying on Edmonton to get back to the Cup final for the third year in a row, I'd be surprised if that happens.
Got to stop some pucks.
Yeah, got to stop some pucks, and then I'm sure McDavid will be looking around and saying, "Huh, I signed that contract, huh? How about that? That's fun." We will get back into reaction from the Titans' first round of the draft coming up next. Look ahead to what could be coming for the Titans for the remainder of the draft. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Final segment of the day, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. The Game National Sports Network will have coverage of the NFL Draft today from Chicago's home of Chicken and Waffles. Coverage beginning at 6 o'clock on Sports Talk 830, presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment, Bazona MD, Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery, Sealmaster, and Tri-State Water, Power, and Air Home Generators. Titans are scheduled to pick number 69 tonight after the trade to get back up in the first round.
Nice.
With Keldrick Falk yesterday. Which means Buffalo now has pick number 35, and Buffalo has pick number 66
as
well.
65 spot drop on the ladder of those picks. That's significant.
And that would, again, to your point, show you how much they think of Keldrick Falk there at the end of the first round. So we'll see how that works out for the Titans. I mean, I do think if you're a Titans fan looking at this, there's some level of benefit of the doubt that I think you give to Saleh in this situation of, all right, well, I mean, defense has been your specialty for a long time. You've been really good at it. I mean, even with the Jets, it wasn't like defense was the problem with the New York Jets. So that, I guess, at least makes you feel good that he's a big part of, obviously, the evaluation of Falk here.
Well, and Adam Portland asking, like, who gets more sacks, the sophomore Femi or the freshman Falk? Well, that's the thing. If you like the chances of Saleh and his coaching staff to get the most out of Falk, maybe it's a 2-for-1, and they also do that with Femi, and all of a sudden, wow, you've actually got productive depth at the edge.
But to that
that's
point,
best case scenario.
That's best case scenario. But to that point, on the Borgonzi front of this, you've now in 2 years invested heavily in edge rusher. You've got a first-round pick that you moved back up to go get, a second-round pick a year ago that you've invested in edge rusher. Well, those two guys need to be your rushers for the next few years.
They should be starting excellent edges opposite each other because in the years to come.
The last thing I want now is, we get around the next draft and it's like, well, the Titans have some needs here, but they got to take edge rusher at 11th overall because neither one of these guys never worked out. You've now invested heavily in that spot. You need to get some return for it.
And also, conventional wisdom here, based on all the data that we all talk about before a draft, Borgonzi in back-to-back years has overdrafted a quarterback and overdrafted a receiver.
Yeah. And if it works out, nobody's going to care, right? Like, if Cam Ward turns out to be a great player, then.
But Cam Ward, Femi and Keldrick need to be great players on the edge, and then you're set there. And then Cam Ward to Carnell Tate needs to be one of the great pass catch combos in the league.
Yeah.
And then you're great. And then you've done great in these drafts. I can't tell you right now if we'll be saying that or if we'll be saying the exact opposite in 2-3 years.
Yeah. Just kind of final thoughts summing up the Carnell Tate pick. I was surprised they went there last night, particularly when I saw Reese was still on the board, right? I mean, it rolls around. Jeremiah Love goes 3 to Arizona. And we said it heading into yesterday. Well, if you could end up with one of those two edge rushers, either Bailey or Reese, I'd feel pretty good about it. Well, there he was. I was like, well, good. They're getting up with Arvell Reese. And they go Tate there. And the Giants immediately snatch Arvell Reese with the next pick at number 5. So we're going to be talking about, Tate versus Reese all year long. And then as they get into their careers, throughout their careers here, at least for the foreseeable future here. So that's going to be part of it. And now you need Carnell Tate at number 4 to be a number 1 stud wide receiver for you. And he doesn't have to be that, on the first day of the year, but pretty quickly into his NFL career, you need him to be that for you.
You need him to immediately start, stand out, be your best receiver. That's for starters. And look, I know he's a rookie. It used to be that rookie receivers, in particular in the NFL, like you have to give that rookie year. It's not like that anymore. And if you're that level of player, you should be able to come in, especially a place like this. The Titans have a good player in Calvin Ridley who's aging out and probably is playing his last year. And they have a couple nice 4th rounders from a year ago. I think DK of those two definitely can be more than just a returner because he has blazing speed.
Yep.
Which Carnell Tate does not have. But Carnell Tate needs to come out immediately. And you can watch enough film of him to convince yourself this will happen, by the way, of his route running, of his, of getting off press coverage, of making big plays, 32.5 yards per touchdown last year. But that's what you need him to immediately come out and be your best receiver. And then, I'm not saying he has to be like a superstar as a rookie, but the one of the best receivers in the league can't be too far behind that.
Yeah.
By taking him at 4.
Well, even in your own division, right? Like you're going to be going up against Stingley twice per year. So like he's a guy that, you don't have to win every matchup against Derek Stingley, but like you need to be able to win a few of those, right? Like he's going to have to go out there, and those are the type of players that he's going to have to beat on a consistent basis at the NFL level.
Players that he didn't see much in college,
right?
Which is that's the relevant part of being the number 2 receiver on your own college team.
That is true. Travis Hunter, if he turns out to be some superstar corner, could be Carnell Tate versus Travis Hunter in the division as well.
They're
hunting him up.
That is true. That is true. Chad says the idea that Reese wouldn't have been a project too is kind of funny. He didn't play. Well, no, you're right, Chad. You are right, and I think I'd love to know various teams' evaluations of Reese. I think it probably were probably a pretty wide range of those. But again, when people say this is the top prospect in the draft, I mean, people draft that too, right? They draft they draft the top traits. And that's where if you want to just talk about traits, Tate doesn't have top 5 receiver traits. He does have high level production. And again, I think it's a high floor pick, and high floor picks are good. But we're going to be watching Reese, that's just natural. And it's going to be compared to Tate for the next few years. And I have no idea what the entire range is possible. The only thing I'd be surprised by is if Tate's not at least a good player.
Yeah. Going to be interesting to see what they do by the time the 3rd round comes around. We talked with TD earlier in the show about, is this when you start to look at the interior of the offensive line? Well, we saw a lot of offensive linemen go last night, particularly tackles go last night. Who's going to be left and available both at guard and at center by the time the 3rd round comes around. But, when you start looking at holes on the roster right now, I think that's where you start at the moment on the offensive side of the ball. Is now that you've filled another spot at receiver, I think now that you don't have Jeremiah Love, Tony Pollard's going to be your back to start next year. I'm interested to see if 69 is when they start to go to offensive guard, offensive center. There you go. One of the two.
Iowa's Gennings Dunker. Get him.
Anytime you draft an Iowa offensive lineman,
he's a guard.
I'm cool with it. That's going to do it for us today. We'll have full reaction all day long here on 102.5 The Game. Next Man Up with Jake Lyman is coming up next. We'll see you Monday morning.